couple minutes early today, people. New stream. Here we go. Alicia, good morning. Okay. Getting this YouTube stream together. Okay, I'm live here. Okay, it take me a few more minutes to get this live going. Peaceful rising. It's been a crazy week. You're reading something in my piece. Sweet, sweet. Well, I'm glad you found peace this week in something, sis. Okay. Pull this up right here. Oh, what is this? Okay, here we go. Find my places so we can get started. Right after I do my intro. Happy Saturday, everybody. Happy Saturday. That's wobble. Okay, now let me adjust my screen. Okay. All right, beautiful people. Happy Saturday. All right. Hope everybody got some rest last night. Hey, Tiffany, Sawubona, beautiful. All right, y'all. Man, I want to share something with y'all so bad, but I got to finish going through it. I'm super excited. I shared it. Tiffany, I'm going to send it to you. I'm going to text you, right? Let me tell y'all something. I found another book, right? And I found it on audio, and I've listened to it like 3 times already since yesterday, since I found it. And I'm pausing like every second. I'm like, what? Wait a minute. This has been here how long, and I'm just now coming across it? I actually remember my uncle asking me about this book a while ago. I don't even think he read it because he probably would have come back to me again, like, listen, did you go read this? Maybe it just wasn't time because of all, I'm saying maybe it just wasn't time because I didn't have enough information from my previous readings or understood some things to know that this goes together beautifully, and it makes some things make perfect sense. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. Okay, so I am going to share it with you guys. I need to go through it a couple more times. I'm just super excited about it. I know it's like, well, why you tell us then? Because I'm sure I'm going to share it with you. So just be on the lookout for it, y'all. It's in audio. And I might end up, I ain't going to say I might end up sharing it today. Let me get through the weekend listening to it a few more times while I'm looking at some stuff. Man, I'm telling you, like, all this stuff we should have been taught. Man. So, but at least now y'all know. Did I mention? I think I mentioned the book. Okay. I'll just mention the book because it's a few different volumes to it. It's called The Legends of the Jews. Right now, I personally think at this point, based on what I know now, the title of that is almost like a doorkeeper for certain people. Right? Some people. How can I explain this? It's like a certain title to keep people out, so to speak, and if you're not like somebody who's readily researching stuff, you probably just skip right over it, which is probably why I skipped over it for the last couple of years. I'm like, yeah, I get to that. I don't know about the legends of the Jews, so, but I was like, and it kept just popping up, and I actually downloaded the electronic version of it a couple years ago now. It's just been sitting in my library, and I haven't touched it. But over the last couple days, it just things kept popping up and popping up. I was like, I wasn't even researching into this. Why is this stuff popping up? So I'm like, okay. And so I actually got bored while I was washing the dishes. Yes, I was like, this thing keep popping. Let me just go ahead and hit play and just listen to it while I'm washing dishes. Oh my gosh. I think it was divine, what you want to call it? Divine intervention, or I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Y'all kept causing it to pop up for some reason. But now I know, because it's answering some of my questions that I've had from the very beginning. I'm like, oh, shoot. So a lot of the missing pieces and things that were not canonized with the Bible, like I said, they have been given different names, and some names have scary names on them to keep people out that don't actually know. I don't know. It's a way, and I think it's all orchestrated by y'all to protect the wisdom, of it, because some people just certainly should not have some things. They're not ready for it. But those who are, listen, I like the saying my uncle said, when a student is ready, the teacher appears. So I'm just like this particular book is like blowing my mind. As a matter of fact, it's three of them. And I'm like, wait a minute. I've seen things on the news about this. This is what that's talking about. Do they know this? And I'm sure some people know. Man, I'm telling y'all, they be lying to us in the news about stuff. Okay, let me go ahead, because since I ain't gonna give y'all too much detail, I'm gonna stop talking about it until I actually share it with you. Okay, so but just know, some of the stuff is coming from like the legends of the Jews, so I'll give you that much, but I'm not telling you specific stories just yet. Annie, look, and this particular uncle I'm talking about, Tiffany, is your daddy. And I think he was probably talking about my other uncle. I mention him most of the time when I'm talking about my uncle, I am talking about the other one. But this particular time, I'm talking about my uncle, your dad. Okay, y'all. So happy Saturday. It is December the 5th, 2020, day 16. Okay. So okay. I was talking about him this particular time, okay. All right, y'all. It is day 16 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets. And of the 3-year consecutive day count, it is day 685. All right, y'all. Today we are almost finishing the book of Genesis. We'll leave 2 chapters for Monday. So today we're reading 46, 47, and 48. And then we're going to go... we're going to backtrack a couple of chapters in Jasher and go ahead and read chapter 49. That's giving some more detail about Joseph before he actually took the rulership of Egypt, or at least right under Pharaoh, right? Okay, so let's get started. So Jacob set out for Egypt with all his possessions, and when he came to Beersheba, he offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. During the night, Yahuwah spoke to him in a vision. Jacob, he called. Here I am, Jacob replied. I am Yahuwah, the God of your father. The voice said, do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for there I will make your family into a great nation. I will go down with you to Egypt, and I will bring you back. You will die in Egypt, but Joseph will be with you to close your eyes. So Jacob left Beersheba, and his sons took him to Egypt. They carried him and their little ones and their wives in the wagons Pharaoh had provided for them. They also took all their livestock and all the personal belongings they had acquired in the land of Canaan. So Jacob and his entire family went to Egypt, sons and grandsons, daughters and granddaughters, all his descendants. These are the names of the descendants of Israel, the sons of Jacob, who went to Egypt. Reuben was Jacob's oldest son. The sons of Reuben were Hanok, Palu, Hezron, and Carmi. The sons of Simeon were Jemuel, Jamin, Ohad, Jachin, Zohar, and Shaul. Shaul's mother was a Canaanite woman. The sons of Levi were Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. The sons of Judah were Onan, Shelah, Perez, and Zerah. Though and Onan had died in the land of Canaan. Remember, and Onan, they were married to Tamar, right? Okay. But they died. And the next one that Judah had promised, remember the whole story with Judah sleeping with his daughter-in-law Tamar? He promised Shelah. Okay, so remember the two brothers that died was first then to Onan. Everybody should remember Onan because he was the one who spilled his seed because he did not want to give Tamar his seed to be his brother's inheritance. Okay. The sons of Perez were Hezron and Hamul. The sons of Issachar were Tola, Puah, Jeshub, and Shimron. The sons of Zebulun were Sered, Elon, and Jaleel. These were the sons of Leah and Jacob who were born in Padan Aram, in addition to their daughter Dinah. The number of Jacob's descendants, male and female, through Leah was 33. The sons of Gad were Zephon, Haggai, Shuni, Esbon, Eri, Arodi, and Areli. The sons of Asher. One quick question. Where do you purchase those wraps from? Do you order them? Yes, Trina, I'll send you the link when we are done. Yes. Girl, I order from Amazon, but I'll send you the link from the particular vendor that I use. The sons of Asher were Imnah, Ishva. Hold on, I think I skipped one. No, I didn't. The sons of Asher were Imnah, Ishva, Ishvi, and Beriah. Their sister was Sarah. Beriah's sons were Heber and Malchiel. These were the sons of Zilpah, the servant given to Leah by her father, Laban. The number of Jacob's descendants through Zilpah were 16. The sons of Jacob's wife, Rachel, were Joseph and Benjamin. Joseph's sons, born in the land of Egypt, were Manasseh and Ephraim. Their mother was Asenath, daughter of Potipharah, the priest of On. Benjamin's sons were Bela, Becher, Ashbel, Gera, Naaman, Ehi, Rosh, Muppin, Huppim, and Ard. I don't know what possessed them to name them two, Muppin and Huppin. They must have been twins. Maybe not, I don't know. But Muppin and Huppin makes me laugh so hard every time I read their names. I just happen to contain myself this time. These were the sons of Rachel and Jacob. The number of Jacob's descendants through Rachel was 14. The sons of Dan were Hushim. The sons of Naphtali were Jaziel, Guni, Jezer, and Shilem. These were the sons of Bilhah, the servant given to Rachel by her father Laban. The number of Jacob's descendants through Bilhah was 7. The total number of Jacob's direct descendants who went with him to Egypt, not counting his sons' wives, was 66. In addition, Joseph had 2 sons who were born in Egypt, so altogether there were 70 members of Jacob's family in the land of Egypt. As they neared their destination, Jacob sent Judah ahead to meet Joseph and get directions to the region of Goshen. And when they finally arrived there, Joseph prepared his chariot and traveled to Goshen to meet his father Jacob. When Joseph arrived, he embraced his father and wept, holding him for a long time. Finally, Jacob said to Joseph, "Now I'm ready to die, since I have seen your face again and know you are still alive." And Joseph said to his brothers and to his father's entire family, "I will go to Pharaoh and tell him, my brothers and my father's entire family have come to me from the land of Canaan. These men are shepherds, and they raise livestock. They have brought with them their flocks and herds and everything they own." He said, "When Pharaoh calls for you and asks about your occupation, you must tell him, we are your servants. We, your servants, have raised livestock all our lives, as our ancestors have always done. When you tell him this, he will let you live here in the region of Goshen, for the Egyptians despise shepherds." All right, y'all. Genesis chapter 47. Then Joseph went to see Pharaoh and told him, "My father and my brothers have arrived from the land of Canaan. They have come with all their flocks and herds and possessions, and they are now in the region of Goshen." Joseph took 5 of his brothers with him and presented them to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh asked the brothers, "What is your occupation?" They replied, "We, your servants, are shepherds, just like our ancestors. We have come here to live in Egypt for a while, for there is no pasture for our flocks in Canaan. The famine is very severe, so please, we request permission to live in the region of Goshen." Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Now that your fathers and brothers have joined you here, choose any place in the entire land of Egypt for them to live. Give them the best land of Egypt. Let them live in the region of Goshen. And if any of them have special skills, put them in charge of my livestock too." Then Joseph brought his father Jacob and presented him to Pharaoh, and Jacob blessed Pharaoh. How old are you, Jacob? How old are you? Pharaoh asked him. Jacob replied, "I have traveled this earth for 130 hard years, but my life has been short compared to the lives of my ancestors." Then Jacob blessed Pharaoh again before leaving his court. So Joseph assigned the best land of Egypt, the region of Ramses, to his father and his brothers, and he settled them there, just as Pharaoh commanded. And Joseph provided food for his father and his brothers in amounts appropriate to the number of their dependents, including the smallest children. Meanwhile, the famine became so severe that all the food was used up, and people were starving throughout the lands of Egypt and Canaan. By selling grain to the people, Joseph eventually collected all the money in Egypt and Canaan, and he put the money into Pharaoh's treasury. When the people of Egypt and Canaan ran out of money, all the Egyptians came to Joseph. "Our money is gone," they cried, "but please give us food or we will die before your very eyes." Joseph replied, "Since your money is gone, bring me your livestock. I will give you food in exchange for your livestock." So they brought their livestock to Joseph in exchange for food, in exchange for their horses, flocks of sheep and goats, herds of cattle and donkeys. Joseph provided them with food for another year. But that year ended, and the next year they came again and said, "We cannot hide the truth from you, my lord. Our money is gone, and all of our livestock and cattle are yours. We have nothing left to give but our bodies and our land. Why should we die before your very eyes? Buy us and our land in exchange for food. We offer our land and ourselves as slaves for Pharaoh. Just give us grain so we may live and not die, and so the land does not become empty and desolate." So Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh. All the Egyptians sold him their fields because the famine was so severe, and all the land belonged to Pharaoh. As for the people, he made them all slaves, from one end of Egypt to the other. The only land he did not buy was the land belonging to the priests. They received an allotment of food directly from Pharaoh, so they didn't need to sell their land. For some reason, Pharaoh's question about Jacob's age stuck out to me for the first time in this reading. It probably absolutely did, because it absolutely stuck out to me too, Tiffany. And I'm going to send you what I was talking about this morning, because that stuck out to me specifically on what I was reading about age. And I was texting back and forth with Leisha. I'm like, "Leisha, listen, look at this about time." So I'm going to send it to you. And it's regarding the ages as well. So it probably stuck out. So that probably means I probably do need to send it to you, because I ain't say nothing about that. So I'm going to send it to you, Tiffany. It stuck out to me too. And you'll see why when I send it to you. Right after the video, I'm going to text it to you. Okay. Then Joseph said to the people, "Look, today I have bought you and your land for Pharaoh. I will provide you with seed so you can plant the fields. Then, when you harvest it, 1/5 of your crop will belong to Pharaoh. You may keep the remaining 4/5 as seed for your fields and as food for you, your household, and your little ones." You're welcome. "You have saved our lives, they exclaimed. "May it please you, my lord, to let us be Pharaoh's servants." Joseph then issued a decree still in effect in the land of Egypt that Pharaoh should receive 1/5 of all the crops grown in his land. Only the land belonging to the priests was not given to Pharaoh. Meanwhile, the people of Israel settled in the region of Goshen in Egypt. They acquired property and they were fruitful, and their population grew rapidly. Jacob lived for 17 years after his arrival in Egypt, so he lived 147 years in all. As the time of his death drew near, Jacob called for his son Joseph and said to him, "Please do me this favor. Put your hand under my thigh and swear that you will treat me with unfailing love by honoring this last request. Do not bury me in Egypt. When I die, please take my body out of Egypt and bury me with my ancestors." So Joseph promised, "I will do as you ask." "Swear that you would do it," Jacob insisted. So Joseph gave his oath, and Jacob bowed humbly at the head of his bed. Okay, y'all. Last chapter for the day before we jump over here to Jasher. Genesis chapter 48. One day, not long after this, word came to Joseph, "Your father is failing rapidly." So Joseph went to visit his father, and he took with him his 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. When Joseph arrived, Jacob was told, "Your son Joseph has come to see you." So Jacob gathered his strength and sat up in his bed. Jacob said to Joseph, "God Almighty appeared to me at Luz in the land of Canaan and blessed me. He said to me, I will make you fruitful and I will multiply your descendants. I will make you a multitude of nations, and I will give this land of Canaan to your descendants after you as an everlasting possession. Now I claim as my own sons these 2 boys of yours, Ephraim and Manasseh, who were born here in the land of Egypt before I arrived. They will be my sons, just as Reuben and Simeon are. But any children born to you in the future will be your own, and they will inherit the land within territories of their brothers Ephraim and Manasseh. Long ago, I was returning to Padan Aram. Rachel died in the land of Canaan. We were still on the way some distance from Ephrath, that is Bethlehem. So with great sorrow I buried her there beside the road to Ephrath." Then Jacob looked over at the 2 boys. "Are these your sons?" he asked. "Yes," Jacob told him. "These are the sons Yahuwah has given me here in Egypt." And Jacob said, "Bring them closer to me so I can bless them." Jacob was half blind because of his age and could hardly see. Let me pause there real quick. Let's go right back up before I forget about it. Right up here at verse 5, when Jacob tells Joseph, "Now I am claiming as my own sons these 2 boys of yours, Ephraim and Manasseh, who were born here in the land of Egypt before I arrived. They will be my sons, just as Reuben and Simeon are. But any children born to you in the future will be your own, and they will inherit the land within the territories of their brothers Ephraim and Manasseh." Remember that as we continue to go on. I'll bring it out again, because when you start seeing the tribes and then you hear Ephraim and Manasseh being mentioned, or Ephraim and the half tribe of Ephraim and half tribe Manasseh, remember Jacob said that they would now be as his sons, just as Reuben and Simeon are his sons. So now they get a portion within the 12 tribes. I don't know if y'all paid attention to that, but I just wanted to bring it out. Okay. Jacob was half blind because of his age and could hardly see. So Joseph brought the boys close to him, and Jacob kissed and embraced them. Then Jacob said to Joseph, "I never thought I would see your face again, but now Yahuwah has let me see your children too." Joseph moved the boys, who were at their grandfather's knees, and he bowed with his face to the ground. Then he positioned the boys in front of Jacob. With his right hand he directed Ephraim towards Jacob's left hand, and with his left hand he put Manasseh at Jacob's right hand. But Jacob crossed his arms as he reached out to lay his hands on the boys' heads. He put his right hand on the head of Ephraim, though he was the younger boy, and his left hand on the head of Manasseh, though he was the firstborn. Then he blessed Joseph and said, "May the God before whom my grandfather Abraham and my father Isaac walked, the God who has been my shepherd all my life to this very day, the angel who has redeemed me from all harm, may he bless these boys. May they preserve my name and the names of Abraham and Isaac, and may their descendants multiply greatly throughout the earth." But Joseph was upset when he saw that his father placed his right hand on Ephraim's head. So Joseph lifted it to move it from Ephraim's head to Manasseh's head. "No, my father," he said, "this one is the firstborn. Put your hand on his head." But his father refused. "I know, my son, I know," he replied. "Manasseh will also become a great people, but his younger brother will become even greater, and his descendants will become a multitude of nations." So Jacob blessed the boys that day with this blessing. The people of Israel will use your names when they give a blessing. They will say, "May Yahuwah make you as prosperous as Ephraim and Manasseh." In this way, Jacob put Ephraim ahead of Manasseh. Then Jacob said to Joseph, "Look, I'm about to die, but Yahuwah will be with you and take you back to Canaan, the land of your ancestors, and beyond what I have given your brothers. I am giving you an extra portion of the land that I took from the Amorites with my sword and bow." Okay, y'all, so that's the last chapter we're going to read today out of Genesis. And let's hop right on over here to Jasher chapter 49. And we're just going to read this one today from here. And when we go back to, when we come back, because remember I told y'all yesterday, instead of going right to Exodus, we're going to go to Enoch. I decided that day before yesterday, and I thought that would be good. And had I have known, we probably would have started with Enoch first. But we're just going to start with Enoch right after we get done here. And then after we're done with Enoch, we're going to hop back over to Exodus, which will pick up some of the same stories back here in Jasher when we get to it. So, okay, y'all. So, Jasher chapter 49. And I really like reading these because, like I told you, when you hear these stories, it increases your faith, seeing some of the things that Yahuwah has done. Because a lot of times we only really hear about the miracles and the things that we see in the New Testament, and we have no clue of some of the miraculous things that Yahuwah has done for his people through the Old Testament. Because a lot of times we're not taught to spend a lot of time back there. You know, we're taught to stay in the new, all this and all that. But there was some things that happened in the old that we would never hear. Not that we would never hear about it in the new, but I'm just saying it's not there. But the Old Testament stories and stuff, and some of the old scrolls, I found, like I said before, I found that it gave me a more solid foundation, and it strengthened my faith so much more. You know, it was like it's like it locked. I don't know how to explain it. It's like something just locked down in my soul, you know, and it's like firm, and it's like unmovable, unshakable. That's the best way I can explain it. All right. So Jasher chapter 49. Listen to what happens to Joseph before he actually takes the actual the reign of Egypt, being the second in command right under Pharaoh. Now I'm trying my best to absorb it all with understanding. Yeah. Funny, not funny. I used to be terrified to read Enoch. Yeah, I know, right? I don't know. People be scaring us with different stuff. Like, I used to be almost deathly afraid to read the book of Revelations. But when my younger sister, Leisha, I don't know if she came in. She may be here. When we were younger, she used to read Revelations like a champ. And I'm like, girl, what's in that book? She said, oh, you should read it. It ain't scary. I said, from what I hear in church, it's scary. They talking about all kind. No, I'm not. No, you just tell me what's in there. You know, but she used to read it all the time. Then I began to feel ashamed as a teenager because my younger sister was reading the book of Revelation, and I was too scared to open it up and read it myself. And it wasn't really until, I don't know, I say, shucks, I had already joined the military and everything. Like, it wasn't, I was in my 20s before I actually decided to read it. And then I got hooked on it. I'm like, oh, snap, you know, so, but okay. But yeah, I feel you on being afraid about reading a book. But I'm telling you, wisdom is there. And if you can get past the boogeyman that they set in front of everything that they don't want us to read, I'm telling you, you grow so much faster in your faith, and you're strengthened in every way in regards to your faith and dealing with Yah and how he deals with you. Like, you can walk in full confidence knowing that the Father hears us and he will answer us. Okay. So Jasher chapter 49, y'all. After these things, the king sent and assembled all of his officers and servants and all the princes and nobles belonging to the king, and they all came before the king. And the king said unto them, behold, you have seen and heard all the words of this Hebrew man, and all the signs which he declared would come to pass, and not any of his words have fallen to the ground. You know that he has given a proper interpretation of the dream, and it will surely come to pass. Now, therefore, take counsel and know what you will do, and how the land will be delivered from the famine. Seek now and see whether the like can be found, in whose heart there is wisdom and knowledge, and I will appoint him over the land. For you have heard what the Hebrew man has advised concerning this, to save the land therewith from the famine. And I know that the land will not be delivered from the famine, but with the advice of the Hebrew man, him that advised me. Hold on, let me read that again. That didn't make sense towards the end. For you have heard what the Hebrew man has advised concerning this, to save the land therewith from the famine. And I know that the land will not be delivered from the famine, but with the advice of the Hebrew man, him that advised me. And they all answered the king and said, the counsel which the Hebrew has given concerning this is good. Now therefore, our Lord and King, behold, the whole land is in your hand. Do that which seems good in your sight. Him whom you choose, and whom in your wisdom know to be wise and capable of delivering the land with his wisdom, him shall the king appoint to be under. Him whom you choose, and whom you in your wisdom know to be wise and capable of delivering the land with his wisdom, him shall the king appoint to be under him over the land. And the king said to all the officers, I have thought that since Yahuwah has made known to the Hebrew man all that he has spoken, there is none so discreet and wise in the whole land as he is. If it seems good in your sight, I will place him over the land, for he will save the land with his wisdom. And all the officers answered the king and said, but surely it is written in the laws of Egypt, it should not be violated, that no man shall reign over Egypt, nor be the second to the king, but one who has knowledge in all the languages of the sons of men. Okay, pay attention, y'all. If y'all weren't paying attention up until this point, pay attention now. Listen. I'll read verse 9 again, just in case you missed everything I said before I say listen. Okay, I'm going to read it again. Verse 9, chapter 49 of Jasher. And all the officers answered the king and said, but surely it is written in the laws of Egypt, and it should not be violated, that no man should reign over Egypt, nor be second to the king, but one who has knowledge in all the languages of the sons of men. Now therefore, our Lord and King, behold, this Hebrew man can only speak the Hebrew language, and how then can he be over us, the second under government, a man who not even knows our language? Now we pray you, send for him, and let him come before you, and prove him in all things, and do as you see fit. And the king said, it shall be done tomorrow, and the thing that you have spoken is good. And all the officers came on that day before the king. And on that night, Yahuwah sent one of his ministering angels. Let me tell y'all something. Every time I read this, I'm like, Father, may you send one of your ministering angels unto this household. We need this. Bless us with this. Revelations has always been my favorite book too. Yes, I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, you get. Okay, let me finish off before I go off on a rabbit trail. Not really rabbit trail, but one of my exciting thoughts. Okay. And on that night, Yahuwah sent one of his ministering angels, and he came into the land of Egypt unto Joseph. And the angel of Yahuwah stood over Joseph, and behold, Joseph was lying in the bed at night in his master's house in the dungeon, for his master had put him back into the dungeon on the account of his woman. Now we know this still the same Pharaoh. Remember the woman who was trying to rip his clothes off him and do all manners of things to him? This still the same Pharaoh, y'all. And the angel roused him from his sleep. And Joseph rose and stood up on his legs, and behold, the angel of Yahuwah was standing opposite him. And the angel of Yahuwah spoke to Joseph, and he taught him all the languages of man in that night. And he called his name Yahusef, or Jehoshaphat. I think it was in, I looked it up, y'all. But anyway, he changed it with just a letter. His name was Joseph. Well, he changed it. He added like a letter, Jehoshaphat. So his name was Joseph, but now he called him Jehoshaphat or Jehoshaphat, right? Okay. I like this. I'm sorry, y'all. And the angel of Yahuwah, let me read that again. Verse 14. And the angel roused him from his sleep. And Joseph rose up and stood upon his legs. And behold, the angel of Yahuwah was standing opposite him. And the angel of Yahuwah spoke with Joseph, and he taught him all the languages of man in that night. And he called his name Jehoshaphat. And the angel of Yahuwah went from him, and Joseph returned and lay upon his bed. And Joseph was astonished at the vision which he saw. And it came to pass in the morning that the king sent for all his officers and servants, and they all came and sat before the king. And the king ordered Joseph to be bought, and the king's servants went and bought Joseph before Pharaoh. You know what this makes me think about, y'all? Y'all ever seen The Matrix? I know y'all have. But you know how they get in them chairs and they put them lines on them and stuff, and then they download things into them. When I read this, I was like, oh snap, that's where the Matrix come from. I'm like, wait, Father, you can really do this? You can download? Like, surely you can, because surely you've given me information just like that. I'm like, but can I get hold of them 70 languages too? I'm like, that'd be pretty freaking awesome. Like, I be talking to y'all like that. It's like when I'm like a kid in a candy store, y'all. I'm just like, oh snap, we can do that? We can really do this? Okay. Just let me know when you're ready for me to do this. I'm here for it. Just let me know what I need to do. I need some more information. Well, bring me all the books. I'm going to read them. Let me know. Help me prepare myself. Help me help you. Okay. All right, y'all. And it came to pass in the morning that the king sent for all his officers and servants, and they came and sat before the king. And the king ordered Joseph to be bought, and the king's servants went and bought Joseph before Pharaoh. And the king came forth and ascended the steps of the throne. And Joseph spoke unto the king in all the languages. And Joseph went up to him and spoke unto the king until he arrived before the king in the 70th step. And he sat there before the king. And the king greatly rejoiced on account of Joseph, and all the king's officers rejoiced greatly with the king when they heard the words of Joseph. Now, if you missed what just happened, when Joseph came in, there were 70 steps that ascended to Pharaoh's throne where he sat, and each step represented a language that the nation spoke. You could only ascend up those steps based on the number of languages that you knew in order to talk to the king, right? Now, clearly we know the king knows all the languages of the earth, so he could converse and conduct commerce all throughout the earth. He knew all 70 languages. He could talk to every person who had been scattered and whose language had been changed. He knew all those languages. When you come in and say you only know 4 languages, you can only ascend to the 4th step. If you knew 10 languages, you could only ascend to the 10th step. So based on the number of languages you understood, those are the only amount of steps you were able to navigate to ascend to the throne to speak to the king. Now, not only would you be speaking to the king, you would be also speaking to the nobles who understood these things. So people who, it's like, I ain't gonna say secret society, but it's like at certain levels, certain people they're shut out and you can no longer understand because you don't understand these languages. So if you were well trained in languages and you understood these things, as they got higher, you would understand at every level. So like, say if you only understood English, you only gonna understand the English that's being given out. But we go up another step, and King, I need to tell you something that only the English speaking folks don't need to know. I'm gonna start speaking to you in Spanish. And now, say the Spanish people, they on the 2nd step, so clearly they understand Spanish and English. And so every step you on, clearly we know you understand all the languages below. But if you stop here, you can't understand any of the languages above. So, and people who are ascending those stairs understand these things. So if there's a secret or something you need to converse with the king about that the levels below don't need to hear, you're going to wait till you ascend to a certain step and you can begin speaking to the king in that particular language. And everybody down here will be none the wiser because they can't understand. They have not ascended to that level of them steps with that language where you can understand. Guys, that's a whole sermon in itself. Like my mama said, now that'll preach. That's like a revelation in itself, which is why a lot of people cannot understand spiritual things. They are still right here on the church's steps. The first, they ain't even took their foot up and lift their foot to the first step. So a lot of things, as more things are being given out, all this wisdom is constantly being given out. I mean, the wisdom, it's out here. It's out here. Remember, like how I started the video, I was saying I'm coming across these things, and it's like the title kind of threw me off. Oh, yeah, still, I don't know. I wouldn't understood some of those things until I understood some of these recent things that I now understand. So now as I'm reading this, I'm like, wait a minute. Oh, snap. This is that. Now, here's one thing that friggin' blew my mind, right? You know how y'all always hear me say, and I just repeat what y'all said. He said, I create good and I create evil. There's like this duality thing going on, right? Good and evil, but it's a perfect balance. But in this book that I was reading, it began to go a little bit more detailed, right? But I began to understand some of these things a few weeks ago because I was talking to my husband. I was having this conversation, and we was looking at male and female and how you can't, well, you can have one without the other, but in order for them to produce at another level, you can't have one without the other, right? In order to get that production going, right? So we was even talking about like, and even with me going back to gardening and planting seeds and stuff, I was like, check this out. I said, us even planting seeds, we're truly like the husbandman planting our seed into the woman, into the earth. Remember, because the earth is referred to as she. She's a she, right? Even us in relation to Yah, male or female, we're like she, and he's he. You know, male, female. You know, same thing with us being humans. The husbandman cultivating the earth, we take our seed and we impregnate the earth with our seed, and then from that point the woman does what she does in order to bring forth life in that seed, right? I'm like, wait a minute. Same thing. Listen to this. Something I found out. The soul within us is referred to as she, as the flesh, the outer protection for the soul protects her. She's hidden, and the male portion is seen. Man, oh gosh, I want to say so much about that. Okay, I'm gonna just stop right there. But it talks about these things, and I just, as we're talking about this and talking about ascending those steps to Pharaoh's throne, it just brings so much clarity to everything. It's like once you see it, you cannot unsee it, you know. So the higher you get, the more people are shut out who have not put in the work or have understood the things to get to the next step. Some people just want things given, but a lot of things aren't just given. You have to go seeking for them. And when you're ready, it appears to you. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. Bruh, I'm like, Father, I'm so ready. Okay. Trina, I'd be too tickled every time you say, oh, snap. I know that at that point you were super excited about what you're talking about. I know, right? Oh, okay, y'all. Let me go back to this. Okay, I didn't share it a lot. So, like I said, I'm going to probably share with y'all the book that I'm talking about. Some of y'all get it. Some of y'all may not. I don't know. But I'm going to just put it out there for y'all since I've been talking. I'm going to post it in the comment section. And when y'all get a chance, just, you know, and if you're ready for it, then you're ready for it. If not, just put it away for a little while until you're ready for it, until you're ready to start ascending these steps to speak face to face to the king. Oh my gosh, it's so good. This is so good, y'all. Okay, let me go back to the reading. Okay. Hold on. And let me go back to 17. Matter of fact, let me just go back to 16, y'all. Okay. And it came to pass in the morning that the king sent for all his officers and servants, and they all came and sat before the king, and the king ordered Joseph to be brought. And the king's servants went and brought Joseph before Pharaoh. And the king came forth and ascended the steps of the throne. And Joseph spoke unto the king in all the languages. Remember, as he goes up each step, he's speaking in a different language. Trina, I'm making her a t-shirt with old snap on it. And the king came forth and ascended the steps of the throne. And Joseph spoke unto the king in all the languages. And Joseph went up to him and spoke unto the king until he arrived before the king in the 70th step. And he sat therefore before the king. So 70 steps, 70 languages. And he spoke all 70 of them. Bro, ain't miss a beat, right? And the king greatly rejoiced on the account of Joseph, and all the king's officers rejoiced greatly with the king when they heard all the words of Joseph. Because at first it was like, king, we can't put him in charge. He only knows one language. Like, it is written that anybody who ascends the second in command only under Pharaoh. Like, he's literally going to become Pharaoh king. Like, he's going to become Pharaoh. Like, when you awake, he's king. So if he don't know one language, he can't conduct business throughout the earth. What you can't bring him in and test him, because right now he Hebrew, he don't know Hebrew. So bring him in, test him, and if he can pass all the tests, then go ahead, king, make him second in command. But if he can't, he cannot ascend this throne. He cannot become second in command. You have to find another man, right? And the king greatly rejoiced on the account of Joseph, and all the king's officers greatly rejoiced with the king when they heard all the words of Joseph. And the thing seemed good in the sight of the king and the officers to appoint Joseph to be second to the king over the whole land of Egypt. And the king spoke to Joseph, saying, now you did give me counsel to appoint a wise man over the land of Egypt, in order with his wisdom to save the land from the famine. Now therefore, since Yahuwah has made all this known to you, and all the words which you have spoken, there is not throughout the land a discreet and wise man like unto you. And your name shall no more be called Joseph, but hold on, y'all, I'm about to screw this name up. Saphanapaniach. Yep, I done screwed that up completely. But he gave him a new name, Saphanapaniach. Sound like Pontiac, but I'm sure that's not what it say, but I'm just trying to sound it out. It start with a T, but I'm almost certain that the T is silent. Saphanapaniach. Okay, you got a new name, y'all. Shall be your name. You shall be second to me, and according to your word shall be all the affairs of my government. And at your word shall my people go out and come in. Also from under your hand shall my servants and officers receive their salary, which is given to them monthly, and to you shall all the people of the land bow down. Only in my throne will I be greater than you. And the king took off his ring from his hand and put it upon the hand of Joseph. And the king dressed Joseph in a princely garment, and he put on a golden crown upon his head, and he put a golden chain upon his neck. And the king commanded his servants, and they made him ride in the second chariot belonging to the king, that went opposite to the king's chariot, and he caused him to ride upon a great and strong horse from the king's horses, and to be conducted throughout the streets of the land of Egypt. And the king commanded that all those that played upon timbrels, harps, and other musical instruments should go forth with Joseph, 1,000 timbrels, 1,000 mekoloth, and 1,000 nebelim went after him, and 5,000 men with drawn swords glittering in their hands, and they went marching and playing before Joseph. And 20,000 of the great men of the king, girt with belts of skin covered with gold, marched at the right hand of Joseph, and 20,000 at his left. And all the women and damsels went upon the roofs or stood in the streets, playing and rejoicing at Joseph, and gazing upon the appearance of Joseph and his beauty. And the king's people went before him and behind him, perfuming the road with frankincense, and with cassia, and with all sorts of fine perfume, and scattered myrrh and aloes along the road. And 20 proclaimed these words before him throughout the land in a loud voice. Do you see this man in whom the king has chosen to be his second? All the affairs of government shall be regulated by him, and he that transgresses his orders, or that does not bow before him to the ground, shall die, for he rebels against the king and his second. And when the heralds had ceased proclaiming, all the people of Egypt bowed down to the ground before Joseph and said, May the king live, also may his second live. And all the inhabitants of Israel bowed down along the road. And when the heralds approached them, they bowed down, and they rejoiced with all sorts of timbrels, Michal and Nebal before Joseph. And Joseph, upon his horse, lifted up his eyes to heaven and called out and said, He raises the poor man from the dust. He lifts up the needy from the dunghill. O Yahuwah Sebawoti, happy is the man who trusts in you. And Joseph passed through the land of Egypt with Pharaoh's servants and officers, and they showed him the whole land of Egypt and all the king's treasures. And Joseph returned and came on that day before Pharaoh. And the king gave unto Joseph a possession in the land of Egypt, a possession of fields and vineyards. And the king gave unto Joseph 3,000 talents of silver, and 1,000 talents of gold, and onyx stones, and bdellium, and many gifts. And on that day the king commanded all the people of Egypt to bring unto Joseph offerings and gifts, and that he that violated the command of the king should die. And they made a high place in the street of the city, and they spread out garments there, and whosoever brought anything to Joseph put it into the high place. And all the people of Egypt cast something into the high place, one man a golden earring, and the other rings and earrings, and different vessels of gold and silver work, and onyx stones and bdellium did he cast upon the high place, and everyone gave something of what he possessed. And Joseph took all these things and placed them in his treasuries, and of all the officers and nobles belonging to the king exalted Joseph, and they gave him many gifts, seeing that the king had chosen him to be his second. And the king sent to Potiphar, the son of Acharim, priest of On, that he took his young daughter Asenath, and gave her unto Joseph for a woman. And the damsel was very comely, a virgin, one whom man had not known, and Joseph took her for a woman. And the king said unto Joseph, I am Pharaoh, and beside you none shall dare to lift up his hand or his foot to regulate my people throughout the land of Egypt. And Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh. And Joseph went out before the king, and he became the king's second in command. And the king gave Joseph 100 servants to attend him in his house. And Joseph also sent and purchased many servants, and they remained in the house of Joseph. Joseph then built for himself a very magnificent house, like unto the houses of kings, before the court of the king's palace. And he made in the house a large temple, very elegant in appearance and convenient for his residence. 3 years was Joseph in erecting his house. And Joseph made unto himself a very elegant throne of abundance of gold and silver, and he covered it with onyx stones and bdellium, and he made upon it the likeness of the whole land of Egypt, and the likeness of the river of Egypt that waters the whole land of Egypt. And Joseph sat securely upon his throne in his house, and Yahuwah increased Joseph's wisdom. And all the inhabitants of Egypt and Pharaoh's servants and his princes loved Joseph exceedingly, for this thing was from Yahuwah to Joseph. And Joseph had an army that made war, going out in hosts and troops to number of 40,600 men, capable of bearing arms to assist the king and Joseph against the enemy, besides the king's officers and his servants and inhabitants of Egypt without number. And Joseph gave unto his mighty men and to all his hosts shields and javelins and caps and coats of mail and stones for slinging. And that, my beautiful people, is our reading for today. Can you put the scriptures on the screen? Thanks. Okay, so I'm not that all advanced where I'm able to put the scriptures on the screen while I'm reading. I hope that I'll get there at some point, so while I'm reading you guys can follow along, but sis ain't there yet, so that's why I tell y'all what they are. But what I do, I'm not sure if you go back and check like the description and the comment section, but I always put in the description box what we read from, and you'll also hear me saying it at the very beginning of the video. It's Genesis such and such, and we're going to read along with this Jasher such and such, so if you miss it, just go back to the beginning or check the description box or the comments section, and you should be able to find those. But today, what we read, the first 3 chapters, Beautiful and Blessed Joy, is Genesis 46, 47, and 48. And we just finished reading all of Jasher chapter 49, and that was 44 verses. So, Jasher 49. And I also put I'll put a link to where if you don't have an Apocrypha or the Book of Jasher, if you can't find it when you Google it or go to YouTube, I'll also put a link to where you can just click on it and it'll pull up the entire chapter. And from there, you can advance through the chapters ahead, or you can go to the previous chapters. Right at the top, it'll say previous, when it'll say next. So you can go to all of them, or you can click index and it'll have the list of all the chapters there, you know. So I'm getting better, sis. Just bear with me while I learn how to do this. Okay. All right, y'all. So that's our reading for today. It is Saturday, December the 5th, 2020, day 16 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 685. And remember, that is not counting the Sabbath days or the feast Sabbath days, because we are commanded to rest on those days, and we try and keep to Yahuwah's commands as much as possible. And resting a day is not going to kill any of us. Matter of fact, it's good that these bodies rest at least once a day. 6 days were given for work and 1 day to rest. Take that day, rest. Obey Yah. Bless your body and rest. Don't be a workaholic. I mean, you can be a workaholic, but at least give yourself some rest. Just like Yahuwah has given us the night to revive our body for the day's work coming. Rest 1 day out of 6, you know? And your rest is more blessed if you happen to rest on the day that he set aside as the Sabbath. I'm telling you, there's some kind of blessing in resting on the actual Sabbath day that it blows your mind. I'm telling you. Like, y'all never felt rested till you feel like a rest, like a supernatural rest, like what has happened. And I remember one year, this was, shucks, we didn't have all of our children. I think I was pregnant with Isaiah. Isaiah just turned 6. Isaiah just turned 6 in July. But we were living still in Newport News in this little small apartment we had. And the Sabbath had happened to fall on a Friday, like the true Sabbath happened to fall on the actual Friday. Remember, because if you don't understand it, you have to go back to some previous videos when I'm talking about how to regulate the Sabbath. And it's a clock in the sky. Yahuwah has said it, so no matter what generation you're in, you'll always be able to find your way back to the truth. And what we realize is that the Sabbath lines up like with the moon cycle. You got to use all of them in conjunction, sun, moon, and stars, to tell the time. But the moon specifically teaches us how to guard and keep the Sabbath days, all right, and calculate the months. So what we realize, make a long story short, every time there's a new moon, the Sabbath day count begins over. And you will find that the Sabbath day always falls on the same day for that particular monthly cycle that the new moon falls on, right? Okay, so if the new moon actually falls on a Friday, for the next 4 weeks, the Sabbath day will actually fall on Friday. If the new moon falls on a Tuesday, the Sabbaths will fall on a Tuesday. I know that's hard for some people to get, simply because of how we were taught. But when you see something ain't working, you need to start crying out to y'all, ask what the problem is, what going on here, why this ain't working, you know. So when you do that and you begin to line up, you will realize there's like this. And the whole reason why I say this, I brought up the story about me and my husband. It seemed like, and even my husband felt it. We was like, wait a minute, do you feel that? This was an actual Sabbath day, and we was home. You know, we just decided to stay home. We didn't go out or nothing. We just stayed at home, and we just cut on the TV, and we just lay across the couch, kicked feet up, and had my head laid on his lap and stuff. And we both, I want to say we fell asleep around about the same time. But while we were asleep, and when we had woke up, it was like, I say our eyes open maybe like 3 or 4 in the morning. We had sent the kids to bed. We were watching movies on the couch. When we had woke up to go get in the bed, we both realized, he was like, wait a minute. He said, I feel like, I don't even know how to describe it, but while he was saying it, I knew what he was saying. I was like, I don't like you feel like completely rested. Like, I don't know. It felt like we had been, I don't know how to really describe it, y'all. It felt like a peace and like a rest that, I don't know, like a refreshing. And I'm like, what is that? You know, it was like guys, I don't even have words for it. That's what I'm saying. If you can keep to y'all's commandments as much as possible and actually rest on the days that he has set out for us to rest, there's a special blessing in that. Like, he does some kind of rejuvenate, at least from our personal experience, some kind of rejuvenation that we felt that happened to our body. And I don't even know how to explain it, but it was just like wait a minute. I feel like, I don't know. I don't know. I just feel like perfect right now. Like nothing wrong. I don't know, y'all. Completely rested. I don't know if y'all ever had like a good rest where y'all like, whoo, I feel like I got a new lease on life. That's the best way I can explain this right now. I don't really have the words, but that's how it felt. And I'm like, this truly must have been a true Sabbath that we've rested on, So that's what I'm like, y'all, let's keep to his commands as much as possible, because there's truly a blessing in that. When he blesses us when we keep to his commands and we are obedient, y'all. So with that being said, beautiful people, I ain't got nothing else. But tomorrow we gonna rest. We resting. All right, everybody, take a rest. Be obedient. Just rest. All right. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and do this blessing, which is found in Numbers chapter 6. Okay. Then I'm going to bless y'all when we go ahead and get out of here. And I'm going to put in the description, make sure you check the description box. I'm going to put in what we read today. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to pull this up and talk at the same time. It's like trying to chew gum and walk at the same time. I'm getting better. Okay. Remember, the first 21 verses is the Nazarite vow. Have a wonderful Sabbath day. Who is love? You too, sis. Okay. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, May Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon us and give us his peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people. Yes, rejuvenating, Leisha. It felt rejuvenating. All right, y'all. I love y'all, and I see y'all bright and early Monday morning, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.